I'm not kidding when I tell you that I am more excited about this episode than probably anyone we've done so far.
I know. He actually told me right before we started this episode, he's like, this is going to be the best episode we ever do.
Welcome back to another episode of Is This for Kids? I'm so excited today. My name is Jonathan Bearded Blevins.
I'm Katie, Mrs. Ruby Ruvalcaba.
And this show is the best resource out there for parents who want to figure out what is appropriate for their children. Would you agree?
Absolutely. It's the best resource, not only because it's informative, but because it's hilarious and we are extremely attractive.
And very humble.
Yes. Down to earth.
Confidence is important. My mother taught me that. It is her fault. I was with my mom recently and my dad, and we visited my parents. It was great. My whole family was there. And what did my mom do? Like, I think I made her a cup of coffee or something. Nice. And she was like, thank you. You are so good at making coffee. It's like, she just affirms everything I do, which is where I get my confidence from.
Being brought coffee, though, is my love language. My husband will tell you that if I get brought coffee first thing in the morning, I'm in such a better mood and I'm just so much happier. And I love my husband 18% more than I would have if he hadn't. 118%
is tough.
No, just 18%.
Right. But you 18% more. You already love 100%.
118.
So 118. That's crazy.
It's nutty.
Yeah. Awesome. I've got 3 children, ages 8, 7, and 3. And I have Cinco.
Yeah. Cinco. Ages 15. Well, I can't do it all in Spanish. I could if I thought about it for a really long time.
I could too.
Yeah. Anyway, 15 to 3-ish. She's almost 3.
And we're not telling you how to parent, but we do want to be a good resource for you. And today we're talking about, I'm not kidding when I tell you that I am more excited about this episode than probably anyone we've done so far.
I know. He actually told me right before we started this episode, he's like, this is going to be the best episode we ever do. I was like,
so far. There's some other ones. Lord of the Rings is going to be good. Harry Potter is going to be really fun and controversial.
Is it?
Eventually. Yeah, I think it should be.
Okay.
So we'll get into that. But like today, we were talking about one of my all-time favorite shows, Boy Meets World.
All right.
Then it's Boy Meets World.
There were 3 different theme songs over the series.
It's Boy Meets World. Oh my gosh. I just got the feels.
Road that we call
life. They did such, we're going to get into this. They did such a good job with that show. Yes. It was and The Rock, Mr. Feeny.
Yes.
Just the little moral compass throughout the entire thing.
Fantastic show.
I do think he made like one mistake in one episode once to show he was human, but otherwise just kind of perfect.
Yeah, I think he made a couple of mistakes, but it was like once a season.
Yeah, just a legend
just
of a character.
Just a tiny bit letting, what were you thinking, letting Sean water your plants? What are you, nuts? Yeah. You should have known what was going to happen.
Sean isn't good for anything. Just kidding. Love Sean. But before we get into Boy Meets World, I have a question for you because it falls into my top 5 TV shows of all time. And now that's a crazy thing for people our age. We're both millennials.
Yes.
You're a little more geriatric than I am, I think.
So hurtful. It's so unnecessary.
I'm 36.
I look younger than you.
You do look way younger than me. And like Kristen Bell.
A little bit. Sorry,
I'm 36. You're like 33. So I actually am older, which is crazy. In my top 5, you want me to go first or you want to go first? Top 5 episodes.
I was only going to make you go first because my 5th one was Boy Meets World. So.
Okay, well, hold on. Well, and the reason I think this is a big deal for us as millennials, sorry, I got off track with calling you old, is because like we've seen way more shows than people our age 100 years ago or 50 years ago or 20 years ago ever saw.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many and we can binge watch them. So I'm watching like 10 shows a year.
Yeah.
So to have a top 5 and to have Boy Meets World in it is saying a lot.
I feel like mine are like not very controversial. So you should go first. Or should I go first? Because they're non-controversial.
You go first. They're non-controversial.
Okay. Well, so I've got 2 controversial because I am religious and I am a stay-at-home housewife. So the fact that my top 2 are Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones.
Oh, wow.
Probably put me into like a weird, like, don't invite her to the life teen benefit situation. But those are my top 2. I think great storytelling. I don't think that a better TV show has been made than Breaking Bad. It's difficult to watch, but it's a great show.
Not for kids.
Neither of those are for kids.
Nope.
None of my kids have seen it, not even the older one. And Gilmore Girls, fall favorite. Definitely love Gilmore Girls. Downton Abbey, rewatch it. Basically, I end one, I get through season 8, and I just start.
Would I like Downton Abbey?
I think you would. My husband always does that thing where he's like, I am not going to watch this. This is so stupid. And he sits down, he's like, who's that guy?
Okay, yeah.
What's that guy?
Annoying.
Like,
I don't do that to
Julie
ever.
Just watch the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then Boy Meets World.
Number 5 for you.
Number 5.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We have 2 similar ones. For me, number 1 is Fauda. It's not super popular in America. Oh, that's probably not true. It's still popular in America, but not as popular as it is in Israel. It's a great show. Highly recommend watching. Definitely not for kids. Number 2 for me is Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is the only show where there was an episode that after I watched it, I did not want to go to church. Like I watched it like on a Sunday afternoon with Jody, and then we had to go to church, and I was like, I don't want to go. I feel empty inside. Like it messed with my emotions. You probably know the episode I'm talking about.
Which episode?
The overdose. Jesse's. I was
Jane.
Yeah, I was a mess. I was like, why would you do that?
That episode, I believe, was titled Full Measure.
Ooh. Yeah, that was tough. Ozark, which is kind of very similar to Breaking Bad. Which have you seen it?
I tried to watch it, and the very first scene was like mildly pornographic.
Yeah,
so
it's like it's one of the only ones in the whole show too.
Is it? Why did they have to lead with that?
I don't know. It was very weird.
Killing me.
But I thought that show was like really well done. Also not for kids. Boy Meets World's number 4 for me. And my last one, which is a little controversial, maybe I don't know, is Friday Night Lights. Football.
I don't think that's controversial. Like every man I know was into that. And I don't know. It's because you all
not
played...
the movie though. The show.
Yeah. I think it's because you all played high school football, and it calls back to that for you. It's like The Office for high school football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who plays the main character, the head coach. I believe his name is Kyle Chandler. I'm like 99% sure I got that right. Proud of myself. Did not put that in the notes. He was in a show called Early Edition back when we were growing up. Same time period as Touched by an Angel, if you remember that show, where he got the newspaper a day early.
Yes, I remember this show.
That's him. It was so good.
And then he would go try to save people.
Yep. He was also in this Florida show that I watched and was only a couple seasons that I liked a lot, and I'm forgetting what it was about. He was a policeman, I think. But he was at a Destin, Florida dinner that I was at recently, and I did not say hello. I do not like to bother people when they're out at dinner, but I wanted to say hi because that's him. He was there.
I just do this thing where I try to convince people that we've always been friends. So like I'll walk up to them and be like, oh my gosh, guy from when? And if I knew his name, it would have been better.
You'd have been like, Kyle,
how are you? It's Katie from Is This for Kids. How are you? And he would go with it. And then like I'd be like, I lost your number. Get here.
Oh wow, you're getting his number.
And then I would be friends with him. And then he would not remember when we became friends, but he would believe me that we've always been friends.
Wow, that is bold, and I think you're being serious.
Yeah, that's how you and I became friends.
Kind of.
I forced you to think that was always the case.
We became friends through trivia.
We were already friends. That's how we...
Yeah, but we became good friends during trivia, I think.
We really were very good at trivia.
It was fun.
Here's the thing. Trivia thing.
Here's the thing about Boy Meets World. I could win any Boy Meets World trivia competition. We should have done that for the show.
Oh my gosh.
I grew up with Boy Meets World. I don't know if you feel like you did or like you like in college watched back episodes. Like I think I did both, but I grew up with it, literally. It began with the main character, Cory, at 12 years old in season 1 and follows him and other great characters all the way through college. You end up laughing with these characters, crying with these characters, learning from these characters, feeling deeply for what they're going through. And they did such a good job. It's like the 90s. They did a good job of like navigating controversial issues and like taking good moral stances on most of them.
Yeah.
I just thought it was an awesome show. Mr. Feeny, an absolute legend. Obsessed with Boy Meets World.
Yes.
Whether or not it's for kids, we will get into. What are your initial thoughts?
I think it's hilarious that you think you grew up with it more so than I did. So in the first season, Cory's in 6th grade.
Yeah,
right?
12 years old.
12 years old. Do you believe you were 12 years old that year? Because it came out in 1993.
I was 7.
No, you weren't.
I was 6. I was 6.
I was 8.
Yeah, I was 6.
Yeah.
No, but I didn't watch it when it first came out.
Oh, I did.
So I think I started watching it when I was like 10, 11, 12.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely like grew up along with it. Like Cory and Topanga were 2 years ahead of me always, and it was or 4 years ahead of me. But like, it felt like it was watching my older siblings.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did it shape your life the way it shaped mine? Like
absolutely.
I remember like watching the episode where Cory gonna actually tell Topanga that he likes her. I think Sean has to end up convincing him that he does. Mm-hmm. That was like that's what I was going through with my friends. I was like, am I gonna tell her? Am I not? Like it was almost mirroring it. And maybe that's just me. I'm weird. I did that with music too. Like if my mood would be very influenced by music when I was in middle school and high school. In college, like if we're gonna go out, we're listening to Lil Jon. Like, you're not listening to Hootie and the Blowfish before you go party. It's Lil Jon. I was like, so the things happening in Boy Meets World, I was very influenced by that show.
Yeah, I was absolutely influenced by the show. You remember when Sean first starts dating Angela?
Yep.
Actually, is it when he first starts dating her or the second time he starts dating her? He finds a purse that has a bunch of stuff in it. He's like, this girl is perfect for me. She's got the sonnets of Shakespeare. She's got a Van Damme movie ticket. Like, she's fantastic and perfect. Who is it? And it's Angela. And I think they've already broken up. And he's like, oh, that's how they get back together, because this perfect girl is right there for him. And I was like, my purse has to reflect who I am as a human in order for someone to fall in love with me. I once lost my purse at an In-N-Out burger, and I was sure that it was going to result in someone falling in love with me. Instead, they stole the $10 I had and gave me back my cell phone, which was nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I constantly remember looking at that show and just wondering which character I was. And like, I always felt like a mix between Sean and Cory. I had like Cory's life, right? Parents who were around
for sure
and very loving and did a good job of working through me being an idiot. But then like Sean, there was something about me that wanted to be a little bit of a badass like Sean, you know, the leather jacket and like I think I got my emo phase from Sean.
Okay.
Being like, I just don't care. I think from Sean. So I was heavily influenced by the show.
Yeah.
I also remember like falling in love with multiple characters.
There was really only the one girl.
No, there were like 5.
But she only showed up, like anybody other than Topanga and Angela only were on like one episode.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. It was just, I get so many thoughts and so many feels.
If you've never seen this show, by the way, Topanga is the love interest of Cory Matthews. She shows up in the very first season and she never leaves.
Let's be honest. If you've never seen the show, you're probably not listening to this. Or if you are, you're probably never going to show your kids the show because
it's on Disney Plus. Just like, if you that's true.
You know what I mean? It's not like it's not like Friends reruns are all over the place.
Yeah, you're right.
But we should get into whether or not it's for kids, because I think we're going to disagree here.
Okay.
So I'm going to skip, and sometimes we wait till the end to let people know whether or not it's for kids. We're going to get into it a little bit. I think that it is an appropriate show for a 12-year-old to start watching in season 1 and then every year watching the next season so that they can also grow up with it. Because I think it gets a little too intense and goes into too many things that like kids wouldn't understand at the age of 12. I wouldn't let my 12-year-old, I don't have one yet, binge watch Boy Meets World, because it just talks about too many serious things later. And so I'm like, start at 12 and then like rewatch it with your 12-year-old every single year until it's done.
Just forever.
Just relive it exactly as I did.
So I think you're going to be surprised to find that we're very similar. I do think that you should take it year by year. I just think that it's fine to start your kid at 8 on this one.
8?
Yeah, because this is a situation, the middle school years are campy and silly, and a 12-year-old will not watch them. They are, if you try to rewatch them right now, a 12-year-old would think this is dumb, it's not fun, and kids like to see kids that are older than them. Plus, they're going to run into, you want to head these discussions off at the pass. You want to be there the first time they hear about drugs and cheating and sex and those things. So if you do them in a nice, controlled way, like Boy Meets World, and you're hanging out with your kid while they're doing it, start at 8 years old. It's watching their big brother grow up, the mistakes their big brother made, and they're able to learn from him. I kid you not. A good portion of my high school morality came from the fact that Cory and Topanga didn't have sex until they were married.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Like, it was a big thing for me. And it was, having that modeled for me made it normal. So no matter what was going on around me. But like, the middle school era, they're talking about middle school things, whether or not you're going to cheat on a test, being mean to the lunch lady.
Saving up money for a squirt gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that happens in season 1.
It does. And then he wants to go to the water fight, but he can't because he didn't clean his room or something like that. Obeying your parents, like those kinds of things, those are all there. And also, I love that Cory's family is working class. Like a lot of kids show these days, your mom's never there, you're being raised by a nanny and you live on Park Avenue, or you're a secret celebrity or some stupid thing. Like his dad managed a grocery store. They were a nice, normal middle class family. And while you were in that thing, I grew up in the Sean environment. I grew up in a trailer park. So having his, broken family and the fact that he lives in a trailer park spoke to me, and I loved that. And eventually Sean's dad gets a job at the school. Yeah. He's ashamed of his dad being the janitor, and he learns the value of work, that it's like good that your dad has a job. I think it's just such a great show, and the way that they graduate through things. I don't know. I thought I
cried every other episode because of Sean and what he was going through. I mean, it was just
incredible. When he joined the center?
Yes.
He joined a cult at one point?
It was wild. Like, he was just crazy. His relationship with his dad, like, constantly disappointed, but his dad was trying. Like, he probably didn't have a great father either.
No.
And so, his dad cared. I forget the guy who plays him. He is Hilarious, super good actor. He's got this raspy voice. Hey, Sean.
I'm gonna Google it.
Chet
Hunter.
Yes, Chet.
Chet Hunter was played by
who?
Oh my gosh, Blake Clark.
Blake Clark.
There you go.
He's in some other things. He plays a lot of a similar character in a lot of his roles.
He basically plays himself, I think.
I love him.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh, what a great guy.
Absolutely love
So
him.
Here's my question for you though.
Okay.
If your 8-year-old's watching this, season 1, most of the characters are 12. Most of the main characters are 12. There's older characters too. By season 4, Cory is 16. So that means so you're agreeing with me that you would go one season a year.
Yep.
And so you're saying that by the time that your 12-year-old
watching a 16
is watching the 16-year-old. Okay. I don't think that's horrible.
Yeah.
I don't think that's horrible.
It's very much an older brother scenario, and I really think that if you try to start a kid at 12, they're going to think the show is stupid because the 12-year-old Cory is goofy. It's very much kids TV.
So here's the thing though, and this is one of the major differences between us, which is a good thing I think for our listeners, our viewers, our watchers, our community.
Yeah.
Is that like my 8-year-old still is not into watching real life stuff yet. Like he's okay with like we watched Free Willy. That was a mistake. We'll do that one later.
Yeah.
We watched he watched the dolphin movie.
Yeah.
Or what's that one called? Do you remember? It's based on a true story with a dolphin who has one fin or doesn't have a flipper or something. I forget what it's called. Well, that's not what the show's about, so it's okay that we don't know it. But he thought that was okay. But he's not watching a bunch of real stuff. He's watching cartoons still. Okay. So I think that maybe when mine's 10 or 11, he still would be into this. Because he just isn't doing other stuff.
Yeah, see, my kids, we had this whole discussion about whether or not we were going to do the Five Nights at Freddy's movie for this podcast because my kids wanted to see the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. They still want to see the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. So it really just depends on your kids and how much access they've had to.
We're going to do that one, right?
I don't know. We hadn't really decided.
We have to probably do it, unfortunately.
Okay.
We'll talk about that soon because we're talking about something a little scary next. But Boy Meets World, just incredible show. If you've never seen it and you're still listening to this podcast, check it out. When your kids are old enough to watch it, it is so good. If
you're a millennial and you haven't seen it in a little while, I would recommend that you start at the Halloween episode of season 5. Do you recall this episode?
Was that the one with Jennifer Love Pfefferman?
Jennifer Love Pfefferman.
My first crush.
Oh my gosh.
I think I've said my first crush 10 times on this show, but
you have. So Christina Ricci was your first
Yep.
Sarah Michelle
Jennifer
Gellar.
Love Pfefferman.
Well, her real name is Jennifer Love Hewitt, but in the show she's Jennifer Love Pfefferman. Yeah. So they're calling back to all of those. That was 1996 when all of those. I guess it was probably 98 now that I'm doing the math on it. But when Scream was big, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and all of those kind of teen horror movies, and so they made one on Boy Meets World, and I rewatched that episode because it's one of my favorite episodes, just to refresh me for this podcast. And there's a "oh my gosh, he killed Kenny" joke.
Yes,
this is
when South Park was just coming
nonsense. Out. Yes,
it's great.
Yeah, it's if you want to bond with your kids and be like, this is what it was really like, that you'll enjoy it. Yeah, it's a good time.
Can't wait to watch it with my kids when they're 12, 10, and 8.
Well, yeah, because by the time
all the way through.
Yeah, by the time your youngest is watching it, the oldest will be 12, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, that'll be great. So check out Boy Meets World. Great to watch with your family. One thing I want to just add in here is that we talked about how they cover things like drinking, underage, and premarital sex, and all that kind of stuff. They handle it really well. They also handle sexual harassment really well.
They do.
There's a couple of different episodes throughout the entirety of the show where bad things happen and they're doing the right thing and they're reporting to the right people and they're letting you know what's appropriate, what's not appropriate.
Yeah, I think specifically way ahead of its time, there was an episode in the middle school years where they started spreading a rumor that Cory had kissed Topanga in the closet during a radio show or something that they were doing, and they start spreading this rumor that damages Topanga's reputation, and having to confront that as a boy who was talking about a girl inappropriately. It was way ahead of its time for whether or not there was any consent, whether or not this girl really had any right, he had any right to say that kind of thing. It was really very good.
So basically what you and I are saying is that we are decent people because of Boy Meets World.
Sorry, Mom, but you weren't raising me. Mrs. Matthews was.
Mom, you did a good job, but I also thought it was great to have complimentary Mrs. Matthews.
My mom really did raise me. My mom's going to cry right now. She's watching this podcast going, why are you saying that? She did so good.
She did.
She did a great job.
Way better than Friends, ladies and gentlemen. Friends, not for kids. Boy Meets World is for kids, depending on the age.
Let your kids grow up with it. Don't binge it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isthisforkids.com. You can find out way more about what we're doing. We have a Patreon now, which is super exciting.
There's going to be bonus content where, I don't know, something that we did here may get edited out and it might show up on the Patreon.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're having a blast. We hope you are too. Let us know what you want us to review next. So many fun things happening.
Yeah.
Until next time, we're out. And it's Boy Meets World. It's Boy Meets